Welcome to The Explainer. You know, there is literally nothing quite as frustrating as pouring your absolute heart and soul into learning 3D animation. You spend months, maybe even years, just grinding away, right? Only to hit playback and boom, you're staring at the stiff, robotic, 4-frame idle cycle. It's crushing. I know that feeling, and I know exactly how much dedication you're already putting in. But today, we're going to fix that disconnect between all your hard work and your final result.
So first up, we've got to ask a pretty hard question. Are you stuck in tutorial hell? Now, you definitely know you're there if you can pull up some highly rated step-by-step guide on YouTube and you can copy it flawlessly, matching the instructor frame for frame. But the absolute second you open a completely blank scene without anyone to guide your clicks, total paralysis. Your characters just feel lifeless. If that sounds familiar, well, it's because you're trapped in a cycle of passive consumption.
The core of this problem really just comes down to how 3D is traditionally taught. Standard education teaches you software features in complete isolation, like here's how to move an arm, or here's how to keyframe a leg. But this creates a massive gap between your expectation, which is creating that super dynamic, organic, breathing movement, and your reality, which ends up being these stiff, robotic cycles. So today, we're breaking down the professional pipeline philosophy of Ava Thompson. We're bringing her high-level production workflow directly into this explainer so you can see exactly how the pros actually get it done.
All right, here's our exact roadmap to transition you into an active, pipeline-driven professional. We're going to cover 1. Escaping tutorial hell. 2. Reverse engineering your learning. 3. Breaking symmetrical keyframing. 4. Cheating the silhouette. And 5. Your 30-day practice plan. Let's jump right into section 1, escaping tutorial hell, moving from passive to active.
We really need to look at why those endless folders of bookmarked tutorials and abandoned project files on your hard drive are actively holding you back. See, following a tutorial linearly from minute 1 to minute 60, that just makes your brain practice button matching. You aren't actually learning how to animate, you're just learning how to follow instructions. What Ava's team relies on instead is targeted reverse engineering. This totally shifts your brain away from just clicking where you're told, and it forces you to practice actual visual decision-making.
Moving on to Section 2, reverse engineer your learning. Deconstruct the momentum.
So to completely change how you study reference material, you have to stop watching 2-hour tutorials end to end. Seriously, cut it out. Instead, you need to pick just a tiny 2-second snippet of high-end animation reference. Then, frame by frame, you deconstruct the momentum. You've got to look incredibly closely. Exactly where does the character's weight shift first? Which frames intentionally break the rules of a clean silhouette? Your real goal here is to replicate the underlying physics concept rather than trying to perfectly match some tutorial author's specific keyframe numbers.
Which brings us to Section 3, break symmetrical keyframing, the mechanical shift.
Listen, the single biggest mechanical habit holding students back is creating perfectly straight vertical columns across all channels in the graph editor. Beginner tutorials always teach you to key the hips, the chest, the shoulders, and the head on the exact same frame. And yeah, sure, it looks incredibly clean on your screen, but it completely kills any sense of organic life. Professionals, on the other hand, offset their keys. Their graphs look super messy, but this asymmetrical keyframing is exactly what mimics real biology.
To fix this, let's officially introduce Ava's Asymmetric protocol. This is a professional keyframing methodology that is specifically designed to inject organic life back into your mechanics. It's all about intentionally offsetting and breaking those linear motion graphs. You absolutely must adopt this in your practice files immediately if you want to stop creating lifeless, robotic animations.
To actually execute this, you just need to follow 3 exact rules. Rule number 1, literally never keyframe opposing limbs on the exact same frame. Rule 2, make sure your secondary controls, so things like goggles, hair, or cloth, settle about 2 frames after the primary body stops moving. And Rule 3, add intentional micro jitters. You should always be breaking clean, linear tangents on your idle cycles to mimic those tiny biological muscle micro adjustments that we all make when we're just standing still.
All right, Section 4. Cheat the silhouette, the visual shift.
Professional feature animation completely stops treating 3D geometry like rigid, real-world physics, and instead, it starts treating it like clay. Beginners are constantly trying to make their poses physically perfect and anatomically accurate from all angles, especially in the side viewport. But pros will literally push an arm completely out of its joint socket just to make sure the silhouette from the main camera looks incredibly dynamic.
So when you're learning to pose, I want you to use this specific silhouette first checklist. First up, lock your main camera. You are only animating for this specific view. Second, evaluate the character as a solid black silhouette to see if the pose actually reads clearly. Third, Exaggerate the scale and stretch the geometry for that single frame if you have to. You are prioritizing a 2D visual punch over 3D topological perfection. Basically, cheat the geometry to serve the frame.
Let's bring it all together in Section 5, your 30-day practice plan, the action plan.
To transform all of this passive consumption into an active pipeline engineering process, we're going to do some immediate homework. Because transforming your 3D skills isn't about downloading a new software update, right? It's about doing the actual work. So here is your escalating 30-day challenge. Week 1, go back to basics. Practice keyframe offsetting on simple pendulum and bouncing ball rigs. Week 2, animate a head turn cycle, but focus entirely on asymmetric facial timing. Like maybe the eyes lead and the jaw follows. Week 3, block out a full character gesture using those camera-locked silhouette sheets we just discussed. And finally, Week 4, integrate advanced subframe micro-drags to completely eliminate mechanical resting poses.
This mindset shift required to permanently escape tutorial hell is perfectly captured right here. Master the mechanics, break the graphs, and build motion that feels alive. Remember, you aren't just telling a computer where an arm goes. You are literally crafting biological momentum.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. The gap between a rigid, lifeless loop and a professional, dynamic animation isn't talent. It's process. So, what's it going to be? We open up another tutorial and keep matching buttons, or will you start engineering your pipeline today? The choice is entirely yours. Now, get into your software, mess up those graphs, and start bringing your creations to life.